Okay, we're just going to show you what's actually inside one of these applicators. This is our Mark 1 model, and it's quite basic. So we have the compressor at the bottom here, which has an intake for its air on this side round here. The air comes round through here, and there's a non-return valve here. It then goes up over the top and blows out to this point out here. Out on this point here, there's an intersection, a T intersection, or sometimes a Y, where the inoculant meets the air. The air drags the inoculant through. So what we have here is our squeeze pump, a peristaltic pump. It has a section of rollers that roll round on a nice squeeze tube here, and it squeezes the inoculant round and delivers it to this point here, which comes over the pipe, and the air then blows it out, effectively known as the Venturi system. The inoculant is delivered from these pipes here. On this machine we have 2 bottles on the back, so it can come from 2 different taps, one side or the other. Normally we have inoculant on one side and water, fresh water on the other for cleaning out when we're done. One other thing here, this is a little relay. This is what sends once it's taken a message from the monitor, it sends a message to the pump to reverse for 30 seconds, and it returns everything in the pipes back to the bottles. Okay, we're just going to explain this model here. It's the 7000 series, which is the newer model of the earlier SLV that we had. It has a few added features in that it has a canister filter on top, which you need to take off and blow out quite regularly. It gets very, very dusty. This takes air through to the compressor down through here and in through this pipe, instead of bringing it in from internally with the other compressors. It also has a built-in gauge, pressure gauge. So your pressure gauge should never really go over 30 psi. If it does, it indicates that you have a blocked nozzle. So we'll demonstrate. This little thing here is called a blow-off valve, which is only this model has as well, and the new C500s. I'll demonstrate how that blow-off valve works. If you get over 30 psi, the valve blows off continually, and it'll just continually do that until you clear your nozzle. So I'll demonstrate that by putting my finger over the end of the nozzle. And that's basically it for that machine. Okay, so we now move through to our oldest SLVs again. So some of these older ones we converted into this system here, which have the rocket launchers on them that hold 2 bottles. So the reason we shifted to that system there was mainly because the inoculant was coming out of the States in large bottles that used to screw into the top of here. They were 90% air and 10% inoculant in the bottom, so it was a waste of packaging. So it was shifted to moving our inoculant into these little bottles. So with that, we then had to have a bottle which we could tip the contents into, 2.5 litres, shake it up and use it. So by coming to this machine here, you can now suck through here, and all you have to do is take the top off and put it on this bottle to suck clean water. Inoculant through there, clean water through this one. What that then does is you're sucking clean water from the tip. With this system here, when you had a bottle on each side, you had water on one side, you had inoculant on the other. What happened then was the side that had the inoculant was never flushing clean water from the tip, because you were swapping taps to suck water or to suck inoculant. So this system here works very, very well in keeping the system clean. It only has 1 pipe goes through, instead of this system that has 2 pipes that go through and meet as a Y on the inside of the machine. Moving on from the SLVs, we have the C500s. These little fellas started coming out a few years ago, and they're more compact. They look nice on a machine. What they do have, their features are a 5-litre container, which is great for the forage harvesters because they can chop for a lot longer without having to mix. What they do need to do though is service these things big time. Keep them clean, especially the hoses. You've got a filter tip on the end here. You don't want it sitting right on the bottom of the tank because that can suck up sediment. Also, they have a little bubbler, this little nozzle here. So what it does, it just bubbles away just to keep things agitated within the tank, to keep the inoculant agitated. To be fair, I don't think they're necessary, and quite often they block up. What happens is, if you turn the machine off, when there's inoculant in the bottle, it tends to leak back through the bubbler and sit in the line of that bubbler. and then when you turn it on next time, it'll block anyway. So a lot of the guys have actually put stoppers in here or blocked them off completely from sending air through to that bubbler. But I must stress, keep them clean. We do clean these lines out and the tanks at the same time, but sometimes we have to replace those lines, especially when they come back looking like that. You don't want that. You're never going to clean those up. So we do keep plenty of spare hosing. The other features of these little fellas, even though they're only sucking from one tank, that's one of the downfalls. So you can't switch onto water with another tank. So you do have to empty that inoculant out of there to put fresh water in there to flush the machine out when you're using it. When servicing these, they're pretty simple because all you have to do is take the squeeze tube off and replace it. And you've got this section through here. You've got the compressed air comes through here and blows the inoculant when it hits this point down through here. All you have to do is take off this section here, soak it in a bit of warm water and clean it out. Through here, you can either replace that or wash it as well. Same old story, got the side vent filters, although it does have the canister filter as well, so most of the air comes through from there. And that's basically that C500. We then get the latest model of the C500s. This is the newest one we have. So it has all the features of everything else plus a few extras. It's still got the blow-off valves, gauge on top, canister filter, but it also has a water bottle on the side. So you can carry fresh water for flushing out when you've finished your inoculant. All you have to do is switch the tap over and you're sucking clean water. And I recommend you do this after every job, especially when you've finished your job and you're traveling back to your shed. You can leave it on manual and just run water through it at 400 tonnes an hour and it'll flush it out perfectly. That's that machine.